All right, you asked for it, so here it is. Whether you're trying to get over 405, whether you're dreaming of 500 plus, or whether you're gunning for that 600 plus pound deadlift. In today's video, we're gonna break down deadlift milestones. We're gonna break down common sticking points for novice, intermediate, and advanced lifters and how to break through them. Maybe these numbers aren't specifically relevant to you, but this advice will be. Okay, so let's say you're getting ready for your first 4-plate day or whatever your novice milestone is. What do you need to know? The main hurdle that lifters will struggle with at this point is going to be more concentrated around their technique. What are the things that we need to work on? Now, we released a definitive guide to deadlifting a while ago, and I stand by about 99% of that stuff. But really quick, here are the things that novices struggle with and how to fix them. First, the grip it and rip it mentality. I think a lot of people, when they get into the gym, they're going to do a deadlift. They just grab the bar and pick it up, right? It's intuitive. And in a lot of ways, the deadlift is kind of intuitive. But when we don't consider the fact that there should be a setup, or that this setup should be consistent from rep to rep, then we're doing ourselves a disservice in how we're approaching the bar to start off with. If you're not being intentional about the position that you're starting in and intentional about the consistency rep to rep, then you're gonna have a hard time progressing. Item number 2 on my list is not gripping at all. A lot of novice lifters neglect to train their grip or deadlift exclusively with straps. Now, I don't necessarily think that not using your grip is gonna hold you back from making progress, but I do think that you should be able to hold on to your deadlifts. You should be able to use your grip, whether you need some chalk or you use a mixed grip or you cheat and hook grip it like me.
Stuffing your thumb under the bar, grabbing on over top of the thumb, and using the thumb as a wedge to keep the bar from rolling anywhere.
And number 3, this is what I think a lot of mistakes in the deadlift boil down to, especially early on. The idea of the push versus the pull. Now, we call deadlifts pulls all the time in short. What are you doing today? Oh, I got some pulls. Maybe we should be calling them pushes, because I think that's the key thing that novices mess up. A novice lifter, when they approach the bar, as soon as they break the bar off the floor, they're trying to pull back. A better lifter is gonna be trying to push in the initial phase of the lift, trying to maintain some position over top of the bar. Let me show you a quick demo. Okay, so let's dive in really quick to what I mean by pulling back too early or pulling too much and not pushing enough. When I talk about pulling too much or pulling too early, this is what I mean. When we break the bar off the floor, we go to pull back too early. We're trying to extend the hips and back before we extend the knees. What that's gonna do is it's either gonna have us push the bar forwards, pushing the bar further away from our center of gravity, or it's gonna have us essentially working to try to pull the bar through our shins, which, if it isn't blatantly obvious, is inefficient. So what we're trying to do instead is we're trying to push the bar off the floor. We're trying to bias and prioritize knee extension to start the lift, and think about the initiation of the lift like a leg press. So we're staying over the bar, we're pushing the floor away, right? The push versus the pull. If we can get the push right, yeah, we start pulling when the bar gets past the knees. We push, then we pull. It's a timing thing. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, now the way that I recommend approaching improving your lift-to-lift consistency is by filming your lifts. Take note of positions and how things look throughout a set. And then after each set, try to recall if some of the lifts felt better or worse. Obviously, you want to try to emulate the lifts that felt better, try to get further away from the lifts that felt worse, and try to discern why each lift felt better or worse. All right, so let's assume that you have the basics of technique down and that you've jammed a few thousand reps with good technique and refined it to the point where it's smooth sailing all the way until you come up to the dread 500 pounds. Or whatever your intermediate barrier may be. What are the things we need to know here? Well, this may ring some bells looking back at our squat video, but we're gonna periodize and accessorize. When we're talking about periodization, what I mean is if we look back at the novice progression, chances are we can adopt a mindset of number go up. And that's adequate. And in fact, you should probably lean into that as a beginner and take advantage of the fact that you can stack weight on the bar damn near every time you look at it. However, once you get into more intermediate territory, you're gonna have to start being smarter with your programming. If you wanna be really smart with your programming, you can head over to calgarybarbell.com and reach out to myself or one of our other world-class powerlifting coaches to help you along your journey. Or you can utilize the over 50 programs, weekly form checks, an incredibly outstanding, beautiful, and talented Discord community that comes with the Calgary Barbell training app, also on calgarybarbell.com. Now, if you want something, but you don't want to spend even a single dollar on it, you can head down to the description box below and get the free 16-week program. What I'm getting at here is some degree of programming is going to be necessary at this point. Now, if you're somebody who programs for themselves and you want guidance for that, I gotcha. What I'm gonna recommend you do is, if you're not already, add an additional day of deadlifting. A lot of times, beginner programs, you can get away with deadlifting once a week. Once you start to stall out, I think it behooves you to add a second day of deadlifting. And let's put some more guidance, some more specifics on there. I want you to add a second day of deadlifting and either use a variation on that deadlift day, we'll talk about those in a sec, or do comp deadlifts here as well, just do them with a much lower intensity. You're gonna have 1 day per week where you push. You're going up to a 7 to 9 RPE. We're getting pretty comp specific, lower rep ranges. We're really pushing for strength. The other day is all about continuing to cultivate the technique. Keeping things around the 6 RPE mark, anywhere between 2 to 4 sets, is gonna be enough to give you just that little bit of stimulus you need without overreaching and ending up feeling like a bag of smashed buttholes. And what do I mean by accessorize? Well, by this point in time, the intermediate point that is, many lifters will start to notice specific holes in their movement pattern, right? And we can prescribe developmental exercises to try to address these issues in their movement pattern. Maybe you realize you're trash at holding position off the floor. Maybe your lockouts are really hard. Or maybe, just maybe, I don't know what the next point is. Maybe you still don't know how to use your quads and push the bar off the floor. In any case, there are movements that we can prescribe to address each of these. And I used specific examples, so I'm gonna give you specific examples of those examples. The first example, let's say that you're trash at holding position off the floor. What I recommend is the paused deadlift. I recommend that one first because honestly, for any of these issues, you could do paused deadlifts, and I think paused deadlift is probably one of the best accessory movements that exists, whether you're sumo or conventional. It's just good. And let's do a quick demo of a good paused deadlift. And I recommend that you pause the deadlift barely off the floor. It should feel like you're starting to lift twice. A lot of people want to utilize the pause deadlift, but they also want to pause what I think is too high. A lot of people look at the point where they get stuck in the lift and think, I should pause there, that's where I'm weak. But in actuality, you want to pause below that. We want to be pausing at the point in the lift where we decelerate the most, not where the bar actually stalls out, because the point we're decelerating is actually where we're weakest. We're losing momentum. The point where the bar stalls is a result of having lost that acceleration. In the case of getting stuck at lockout, well, chances are you're also losing position off the floor, and that's why you're getting stuck at lockout. So see my previous section about the pause deadlift. But if your lockout is just kind of weak, here's what I recommend. Use banded deadlifts or throw some chains on the bar. Now, I don't recommend block pulls because I think for most people, they're gonna change your start position enough that you're just gonna be more mechanically advantaged and you're not gonna have that same sticking point at the lockout. You're just gonna bypass it because you're starting more upright or in whatever degree of better position you end up getting. And if you're somebody who struggles to use their quads adequately off the floor and all that push stuff I was talking about earlier, do some sumo, baby. I know you don't want to. I know you think it's stupid or silly or for weaklings, but I'll tell you this much. My first world record, which I pulled conventional, was a result of messing around a lot with sumo deadlifts as a training tool. It taught me how to hold position better, how to kind of let the bar be heavy off the floor, and how to actually push and maintain my position over the bar a lot better. And at this point, you are no longer a Padawan. You're approaching Jedi Master territory, whether that's 600, 700, 800, or whatever else. And baby, I'm your Yoda. Deadlift lots, you will. Fucking cut that.
Printing so hard.
And the first tip I have for you is to throw away all that technique crap. You don't need it, just stand up real hard.
Pushing into the floor to come up. Now,
Hear me out. I know I just spent a bunch of time telling you how important technique was and telling you all the technique faults that beginners fall victim to and how to select accessory movements to fix any issues with your movement pattern when you're an intermediate. Look at this graph. As you can see here, I think as you get past the intermediate point, we kind of need to revert back to meatheadedness. I think in a lot of cases as an intermediate lifter, because we're so supremely conscious of these cues and these patterns and proper exercise selection and where our movement faults are, a lot of the times we get away from some of the good stuff when we were a beginner and we just gripped it and ripped it, even though I recommended not doing that. As we become a more advanced lifter, we tend to kind of need a lot of these contradictions. We need to be more intelligent and more precise, but we also need to be more of a meathead and more of a caveman. When it comes down to it, we need to be able to distill down all those cues. If we're reciting 3 paragraphs worth of cues every time we go to set up for a rep, I promise you are holding yourself back. We need 2-3 words at most. Honestly, just stand up real hard. It's not a bad cue once you've taught your body how to just do the thing. Once it becomes like instinct, and that's the point we need to get to, then you just stand up real hard. When you get up to certain weights in the deadlift, and for most people that's like 80% plus, it all just kind of feels heavy, like all of it. The more we can push our brain out of the way when we're in the moment of lifting and just do the thing, the better off we're gonna be. You'd be surprised at the number of people whose deadlift or squat, in a specific case I can remember, I helped a great deal just by saying, have you tried pushing harder? Sometimes, like I said, we get too caught up in the cues and we don't just think about straining, squeezing, pushing, pulling hard. You know? Like I said, however, as we become advanced, we love a contradiction. So as we become more brain dead in our execution of the lifts, we have to at the same time become more cerebral with our prescription. What I'm talking about here is individualization. We need to have a system that we work within when it comes to prescribing weights, sets, reps, accessories, etc. You need a system for your programming, and you need to be able to record, analyze, and iterate within said system. You need to be able to pick out what works and what doesn't for an individual lifter, and it's a tall task to work with an advanced lifter and still find progress. It would be really hard for me to break down real quick what is individualization, but that won't stop me from trying. So here we go. Number 1, understand your system. Whether you're using conjugate, bottom up, top down periodization, whatever the hell it is, you better know that thing in and out so you know which knobs to twist and which buttons to push to make changes to it. Number 2, record and analyze data. If you're not even writing things down, or better yet, recording into some sort of spreadsheet or app like the Calgary Barbell training app, you're doing yourself a disservice. The best coaches in the world have systems for analyzing the feedback from lifters. What works, what doesn't, are able to analyze sets of data and parameters over time, like E1RM in a certain rep range based on accessory movement selection, whatever that might be. And number 3, don't change too much at once. This is a big part of the reason that I'm such a huge fan of bottom-up periodization and repeating microcycles. Just Google those terms if you're interested. Keeping things consistent allows you to pull the signal from the noise. If everything is changing all the time, if you're cycling rep ranges every single week, if every exercise changes in every block, it can be really hard to tell what worked and what didn't, or come up with any reasonable conclusion on why that might be the case. Perhaps at this point I've gotten a little too deep in the weeds and gone a little overly specific, but that's what I like to do. I'm trying to conform to the listicle style crap that the algorithm loves, but sabotage you with really good and nuanced information once you get sucked into it. It's because I care. I want people to make progress. I want people to get better and be stronger. Powerlifting is me. It's what I do. It's what I love. It has been for 14 years or whatever now. And I know how much good it can do a person. If you're down to follow along and maybe get tricked into some more, hopefully, good informational videos with all kinds of stupid toilet humor, well, make sure to click subscribe. Leave a comment below. Let me know if there was something that maybe I glossed over or that you have questions about, or something that you did that I didn't mention. You know, something that helped you break a deadlift plateau. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.